move forward, we're going to move into executive session. Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is the Wednesday, April 7th, 2020. The time is 9:06. Calling the Community Improvement Corporation, the CIC meeting to order. I'd just like to double check on the participants today. Today we have Steve Wilder, President. That's me. Jeff calling the roll. Jeff Peters.
Here.
Patrick DiOrio.
Here.
Gerald Revolt.
Here.
John Zepp.
Here.
Shane Nicholson.
Here.
Timothy McCourt.
Here.
Very good. Gina Oliver.
Here.
Okay. Our team is present. Like a review of the minutes from January 27th, 2020. Have a motion to accept those without any changes or unnecessary or necessary directions.
I would move.
A motion.
Second.
All right, you identify yourselves who made the motion in the second. So we have a court reporter here to transcribing these minutes.
Peters motions.
Nicholson, second.
I have a motion of first and second. Is there any other discussion on those? If no further discussion, it's been seconded for approval. Would everyone say aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you for that. Motion's been carried for the minutes of January 27, 2020. On item number 2, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Patrick DiOrio, our secretary, to lead us a little bit on the demolition of 523 East Maple Street. Mr. DiOrio?
Well, yes, I want to bring everyone kind of up to speed on where some of these properties, and I think when we get to item 4 on the agenda, we're going to be moving into executive session. But as far as the actions that we have already taken, the CIC acquired 523 East Maple Street. This property a year ago had been at auction and was purchased by an out-of-town owner from Michigan. It was bought sight unseen. When they approached the city to determine what they need to do to move forward, our building department determined that that the building was likely should be condemned, and the property was not zoned for residential. It had lost its grandfathered status, so the zoning on the property was office business. The owner was not going to do anything with the property other than just sit on it, absorb that loss. That is, a blighted home that we really need to do to get rid of it. So the CIC stepped in, acquired the property for $9,000 plus closing costs. It was purchased at auction for $18,000. So the owner did take a substantial loss on the property. What we would like to do is take advantage of a program that is available through the Stark County Regional Planning Commission. They offer a demolition program for properties such as this. They need to be owned by the municipality or one of its assigns. And the CIC would fit that bill. We would look to get a couple estimates, 3 estimates to demo the building, and then if it's approved by the Regional Planning Commission, they would reimburse us up to 50% or half the demolition cost. So in order to do that, we would need to make an application to them, and being that the CIC is the property, we would need a sign off from the board to go that direction. Future use of the property, I mean, for land banking, we would hold on to it. There's other properties that might be contiguous that could become available. If we were able to even just add 1 additional parcel to it, it would make it a developable piece of property for its zoning. Anybody like to weigh in?
No, we need to get it down. This is Daryl. We need to get this property pulled down.
Peters agrees.
Would someone care to make a motion to apply to the Stark County Regional Plan demolition assistance?
Daryl will move that an application be made to Stark County Regional Planning.
We have a motion on the floor. Could I have a second to that motion? Gina Alabak seconds that. Is there any further discussion or comment on that? If not, shall we do a roll call? Let's do a roll call approval for us to go forward with with that motion. President Wilder says yes. Jeff Peters?
Yes.
Patrick DiOrio?
Yes.
Daryl Revolt?
Yes.
John Zepp?
Yes.
Jane Nicholson?
Yes.
Timothy McCourt?
Yes.
Gina Alabak?
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you. The next item we'd like to present in discussion is the disposition of 430 North Main Street. Mr. DiOrio, bring us up to date on that, please.
So, as you recall, approximately, I believe it was November of 2018, the CIC acquired what was known as the Flickinger property at 430 North Main Street. We acquired that property at $190,000. There was an offer that had fallen through at sale at that price. Some months later, we moved in to acquire that. We have put a little bit of money into it, bringing it up to code, and it has remained in condition that it could be inhabited and utilized for a higher purpose. We've kept the property up, utilities, that kind of thing. So we have two things really kind of to discuss here. One has to do with a intricacy of the zoning, and you heard me mention about the 523 East Maple and that it had lost its grandfathered status. So in this case, the zoning on this property allows for residential living on the second floor. That was what it was zoned for. It had gotten a conditional use for that. And when we acquired the property, it had still had a tenant within the 2 years prior to our acquiring it. So we were grandfathered when we bought it to have that there, but we're coming up with 2 years that we've owned it. And to the extent that we could get an occupant in it to that status, that would be a plus. I had consulted with some realtors to determine what a fair rent would be for the upstairs portion of that property, and was advised that for the 2 small bedrooms upstairs, $600 a month would be an appropriate rent. So as it turned out, there was an individual that was looking for a short-term rental of 90 to 120 days. They were in between apartments, and so we executed a short-term lease for $600 a month on that property. Now that gives us that grandfathered status that we need to keep moving forward. So I wanted to make you aware of that portion of it. The other part now is that we do have a business that is interested in acquiring the property, and they have proposed relocating their business from Canton to North Canton. It's approximately 20 jobs. It's in the healthcare sector. 5 of the 20 involve office personnel that would be in the building during regular business hours. The other 15 individuals are in the business of home health visits, and so they do not have a presence in the office on a regular or even hourly basis. They basically come in to pick up their paycheck. So kind of what we would hope that we could move in there. They've been in there, they like the property, and they had asked us if we were interested in selling. They proposed acquiring it under a land contract. Together some terms for that, being that we didn't have the expertise on a land contract, we contracted with a real estate attorney to draft up on behalf of the CIC a land contract with all the terms and conditions from the proposed buyer, incorporating all the protections that the CIC should have in doing that. So what I really need to know from the board is, do you wish to pursue selling this on a land contract basis, or would you prefer not to and just hold out for a traditional sale? The land contract basis puts the CIC in the position where they're acting as the bank, and we're in essence, giving title to the other party if they execute fully on their promise to pay. We agreed on a purchase price of $200,000. They would put 10% down and make monthly payments $143.05, which has a rate of interest equal to 3%. So $1,243.05 a month, 3% interest, and they put $20,000 or 10% down. And in essence, we would be financing the rest. We'd be carrying that note. If we decide to go down the land contract route, it would be advisable for us to have Jeff step in. We talked with Jeff before. He was previously with the Stark Development Board. He's an independent business personnel, or at least his own. He is offered to help us do the due diligence on the buyer, some type of credit check. We have to know who we're selling it to, that kind of thing. Standard procedure. I don't suspect anything wrong here or in that respect, but just as due diligence for the board, we should move that direction. So I didn't want to get too far down that without knowing what the board wanted to do to cover our base. I did give the buyer a copy of the land contract that we had drawn up. Not had any further discussions with them other than to say, we needed to have a board meeting first and then see what the board's inclination was before we got too far down. But I did give them a copy of it so they could, have their legal team look at kind of thing. So I'd like to, get some input and answer any questions on this so that we can get some kind of direction.
The floor is open.
How many years was the repayment?
The repayment was for, great question, Gina Alabak asked for how long would the payments go on? 2 years. And there would be a balloon at the end.
Excuse me, could you repeat that, Patrick?
15 years with a balloon at the end, I believe. Yes, that's correct. 15-year amortization schedule.
The company will do any improvements to the building?
Yes, under the land contract, the owner, the land contract owner, would be responsible for all improvements that they would want to make to the property, maintenance of the property, general upkeep. It's really as if they own it. It's just that we are acting as the bank for the financing. In the event that they miss a payment, this is what's typical in land installment contracts, is that you miss a payment, you in essence forfeit your down payment, you forfeit all the money that you paid towards it, and the city could take repossession of it. They would be required to sign a quick deed as part of the land installment contract based on our legal counsel. That way, a process of eviction, it just goes back to us and that. So there's, for businesses that use these and the buyer is very comfortable with this, they don't envision a situation where they're not able to make the payments. They've been in business for some time.
And they want to come to North Canton.
And they want to come to North Canton. They want to move out of Canton and move to North Canton. And it would be a nice reuse of that property. I mean, they have the ample parking in the back. We, at a previous meeting, we had given authorization to have some testing done on the property as part of the Hoover District. And the EPA was having some, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, doing some additional testing to be able to move that project along. They retested all the properties around there. They asked to test on our property. They did. Everything turned out okay from the environmental standpoint. But it would be a nice addition, put new signage out front, and see some activity there.
Any other thoughts or concerns, folks?
No, I think this is Daryl. I think one of the driving considerations for the property's acquisition was potentially to help with the relocation of safety building. And I think we have moved beyond that. So I don't have a problem selling it off. Gina, question. We're going to track this. The balance sheet is tracked through the finance department, correct?
Yes.
So we're going to be in a position to set up an account and administer this.
Yeah, the CIC has a separate account.
Right, which you monitor, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. This is John Zepp. One question I have, Pat, is have we gone back to the potential buyer? And I guess it depends ultimately on our purpose with the CIC. Do we want to hold a lot of properties, or would we rather not? Or in particular, this property, if we thought, maybe we don't want to do the land contract, we'd rather have a purchase. Have we pushed back at all on the interested party and said, we'd rather have a purchase? Has that been part of the discussion at all?
No. John had, the buyer had approached me and asked if we would be interested in it. And I said that, it's really a board decision, but that I didn't feel there was any reason to automatically rule that out. Why don't you put something together and let us see what you like? And there's some merit and value in what you say, John, that one of the options could be if we push back and maybe that's, they just don't want to do this other than this way, then we would know where we are and figure that out. Or if we had to, would we be interested in a lower price if they were able to obtain traditional financing so that the CIC would just have the entire sale, the assets available. So just like for conversation.
Well, I don't know that the price would change depending on, it shouldn't matter who the bank is. I would think the bank loans would actually have a lower rate at this point in time. I don't know what their qualifications are. And then my other question was along the lines of Jeff's question, or sorry, John's question. Does the CIC have need to have that money?
In my opinion, the CIC, I would love to see the CIC have full sale price. We have other things we're going to talk about in executive session, but yes. So would it be the board's flavor that we should first attempt to discuss with the proposed buyer that we would prefer to do a straight sale, and then see where we go from that. And we were going to have to reconvene next week anyway to pick up another matter, so we might be able to have some more information next week then.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we make that proposal and inquiry with the interested in the property, John, and then we can have that information for our next meeting. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. I happen to know the individual. I had met him. I don't know him very well, but just having met him, I think there might be some, at least it's a discussion point there. If that's what the CIC prefers, there might be some play in the conversation. Worth having a conversation, I think, at the very least.
Very good. And Gina brings up a good point about the insurance rates, again, being interest rates,
Right.
Being affordable. So why don't we go ahead? We'll table that issue for now for further discussion at the next meeting.
This is Tim McCourt.
Go ahead.
I wonder if I can make a comment.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm generally on a land contract, the buyer may be cash strapped. I mean, at times, especially in the residential market, usually it's like you say, especially with the interest rates low right now. And the other thing is, what's our long term? That's a pretty valuable spot on Main Street. And to me, right now, to rent it to that business might be a little better option. That way, we have the option to dictate what happens with the property. Because once we sell it, it's gone. That's the concern, but we also have to be aware of those jobs. That's a huge issue also.
No, that's a good point. It's a point well taken.
With the proposed buyer, leasing was not an option. They've always owned the property that they've been in, and would prefer to own the property.
This is Daryl Wood. And this is, I guess, a question for Gina. We would have 5 fixed jobs at the site, 20 others. Would all 25 of those be taxed inside the municipality, or just the 5?
There is a municipal income tax rule called your principal place of employment. And so if their principal place of employment is the office, then yes, we would have all 20 jobs.
Well, if they're home health care aides, what would they?
Their base, and I would ask how they're doing it now, but I would assume it'd be Canton. I would think it would be where the office is.
Could you check that out for us?
Where they, right, all of those things.
Yeah, their office that they have in Canton, they pay the 2.5%.
Okay. That's actually a pretty good deal for the employees then. They're going to get a 1% raise.
And be in a nicer community.
Yeah. Yeah. But to Tim's point, I think this is, this is 25 jobs. It's not something that we create regularly. And, I think, part of our strategy is to have employment on Main Street.
Okay, well then we won't take any action on this. We'll revisit it next week.
Thank you, everybody. For the update on property acquisitions, we're going to move into an executive session for information. So I'll need a motion to move into Gina moves, Diorio seconds. Going to have a roll call vote to move into executive session. Wilder, yes. Alabac,
Yes?
McCourt,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Zepp,
Yes.
Revolt,
Yes.
Diorio,
Yes.
and Peters.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, how are we?
At this time, I'm going to cut the stream, and for any members of the public currently watching on YouTube, it's going to give you a loading screen for the duration of executive session.
Can't hear you, Patrick.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just, we were just waiting for the live stream to come back up.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, I'm going to request a motion to move out of executive session. Can I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Second by Patrick, moved by Darrell. Roll call vote.
Or voice vote.
Or voice vote on this one? Okay, have a lot of voice vote. All in
All in favor, say aye.
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 favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're back in session and out of executive session with no action taken at this time. No further business to come before the CIC. I'll move for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Nicholson.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time and attention.